And then the process, how many people were involved once a lead, the business card was there, we're back from the conference, then the salesperson or the founder starts hitting that list 3 weeks later when they actually can get to it, or
Another challenge was there wasn't an adequate follow-up system. The business had two partners, and so one business partner would deal with some set of leads, another business partner would deal with, let's say, another chunk of leads. So it wasn't systematized. They were generating a lot of opportunities, but were leaving a lot of money on the table.
there's inefficiencies, but you can still have a very inefficient process. Send an email, and then that converts to business. What was the breakdown at that point? We're talking about some of these other inefficiencies. What's the breakdown at that point? Why were people turning them away? Because it was too unprofessional on the call?
Well, there was a few reasons, but I would go back to a fundamental principle that not all leads are created equal, which means you shouldn't treat all leads equal. What we had seen was they were treating, let's say, 7-figure companies, 8-figure companies, the same way they would treat a company that maybe has 10K in revenue. And so how this actually plays out in the sales process is they'll try to close one of these leads on one call. Generally, a company that is doing 7 to 8 figures in revenue, that's not how they work, because there's going to be multiple decision makers involved. There's a process in which that you need to find out the correct information about their pain points, then offer a solution relative to those pain points. And then, that doesn't mean you're going to get the sale either. There's going to have to be a negotiation phase with that. You might have to deal with multiple stakeholders. And so that's how a traditional B2B sales cycle would look. However, if you're trying to do all of that on one call, it's not going to work.
You come across as pushy, right?
Yes.
Like, I've been on many of those calls as well, and it's like, I'll get back to you because I have all these other people I need to report to. I love your software, but I don't have the authority to just go and swipe the credit card or send the invoice over. I need to get everybody else on board with this, that this is what we're going to be using for the next 5 to 10 years to solve this issue. If I feel that mismatch with the salesperson, then I don't really want to go down that road with them because they don't get me where I'm at. That does not inspire confidence.
Yeah. When I explain this to the founders I'm speaking with, the analogy that wakes them up to it is, okay, think about the time you first met your wife or girlfriend. Did you do everything on the first date? Right. And generally the answer is no. There's a courting process.
Mm-hmm.
There's a process to get to know the person. And it's no different in business.
But other people have the opposite issue, right? Where they're trying to close them on one call, and others might not actually be identifying this. What's the other side of the pendulum?
Well, then the other side is if you're too passive. They're experts in their domain, which is YouTube. If someone says, I want to grow on YouTube, can you help me? They'll talk like 30 minutes, 60 minutes just on that. And then the end of the call, the person on the receiving end is like, whoa, that was amazing, thanks.
Yeah.
And it's done. There's no transaction.
How do we then translate that to benefit and why we want to work with you? The offer